Welcome to Kastoshi, and today we have Thanos Tsavlis of Cyberscope. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you for having me here and nice to meet you all.
Could you give us the quick 1-minute pitch on what Cyberscope does and why anyone should care?
Sure. So Cyberscope is a cybersecurity blockchain company. We specialize in smart contract audits, KYC, and AML analytics. Cybersecurity is very important on right now on the Web3 because we've all seen how many scams there are, how many hacks we have in this era. So we focus on securing Web3 and projects with our smart contract service.
Okay. I looked at your website. It says you've done 750 audits. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a rough estimate. We have done a lot of different networks, BNB chain, Ethereum, Avalanche, and Polygon, most of all.
Okay. And what's your role in this? Can you actually read smart contracts yourself?
Yeah. So I'm a co-founder and the CEO, but back in the day, 2 years ago, when me and my partner started Cyberscope, we both are hands-on developers and we have a really big tech experience in our backs. So yeah, I used to do smart contract audits myself. Now the team, of course, has grew a lot. I hardly have time to code or review anything like that.
So how many of you are there at the moment?
So we are 17 right now. Cyberscope has offices in Greece and in Cyprus. Our headquarters are in Greece. Most of us are engineers, and we also have a small marketing and sales team.
Okay. So I looked at your background. I see that you started off as a developer, and you've slowly moved into more marketing and management as well. And I saw you also did CoinScope. Now, when I first saw CoinScope, I thought, okay, what is this? Because I wasn't sure if it was one of those websites which tries to shill coins. So was CoinScope a success, or was it a learning thing? So what was the purpose of that?
So yeah, CoinScope was I used to be when I started on Web3 and crypto. I started as a trader and investor, but I used to have this bad experience with projects. Every time I bought something that I had this good vibe of buying a Lambo with it, I would get scammed or lose my money. I was a really bad trader, so I started this CoinScope as a coin listing application to help new people like me, like when I was back in the day, identify good projects and read a bit more about their security, about the team. So it's a coin listing application. It has a lot of decentralized integration as well, decentralized airdrop, NFT marketplace. So this was the first project, the first platform, and the first company that we made in Web3. And then we spinned off to Cyberscope, which was the cybersecurity part.
I guess as you made CoinScope, and you wrote smart contracts, you realized that, I'm guessing that you realized that security for contracts for yourself as well was a massive problem.
Exactly. So we had this company, we were listing projects, people were coming, we still have a lot of traction there. But security is the most important thing there is, because as they say, code is the law. Everything is on the blockchain, and everything. If the contract is not secure, even if the team has the best intentions, they can get exploited. We see these hacks happening every day. So the only way to secure and protect yourself and your investments is to invest on audited projects. That's why we focused on security, not just on smart contract audits, but also on KYC, because KYC-ing a project, that's also very important. People
You
don't
mean KYC of the developers, so
exactly.
that they're not anonymous. Yeah.
Exactly, because not everyone wants to go public, but at least they want to do this KYC, which is a private process of we have their identities, and investors trust our company, so they know that this project, we know who they are. They will not try to attempt anything shady or run away with the funds and turn off everything, the website, the Telegram, everything.
So at the moment, since a lot of the how do I put this? I think with the crash of Celsius, FTX, and Terra Luna, I mean, I personally, I'm very happy about it because it's got rid of not all of, but a lot of the people who are just in the space for the money and are not interested in anything else. Would you say that the amount of projects that have been developed has gone down a lot in recent months, or has it gone up?
So we work with a lot of incubators and accelerators. I can tell you there is a lot of things happening in the background right now. People are building. So I think that more projects are being built right now. And I agree with you. The point of crypto is not to, get in quick, get money. It's about the technology. So these unfortunate events and people lost a lot of money, but in the end, it's helping with adoption. A lot of people are, it might be hard and people might be afraid to invest, but a lot more projects are being developed as we speak. So we are expecting to see a lot of more projects launched in 2023.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and another question I've got is, and this is related to EVM versus non. I'm sorry if I'm asking a lot of questions, but for me, this podcast is so I can learn stuff as well.
Yeah, of course.
So when you see EVM projects and non-EVM projects, I've spoken to a lot of projects which say they have massive scalability, but they're not EVM compatible. When I see something not EVM compatible, I think of many problems. One of them, I think, is that they might have a smaller pool of developers, but of course you see something like Solana has proved that that wasn't that much of an issue back in the day. I know they're having some issues now, but Solana might still come back again, of course, and become huge. And they had very dedicated developers. I remember that. And just so the audience who are listening to this knows, Solana is not EVM compatible. There's many other blockchains which are not EVM compatible. And one of the other issues I have is when it comes to auditing smart contracts, it's hard enough to audit a contract on if it's EVM compatible, which means it's compatible with Ethereum for people who don't know. Do you audit contracts which are Ethereum only, or do you also look at non-Ethereum smart contracts? There's a question in there at the very end, but I think you see what I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a great case because it's all about the community and the developers. And Solana did actually had a really big amount of developers working on that. And now most of them have shifted to Aptos. Yeah, we also audit non-Ethereum based contracts. We have developers in Rust, and we also work with other contractors. Most of our clients come for EVM based forks because it's easier to get there, it's easier to fork something, and the community is bigger, you can find people faster, but they have their pros and cons. We support both of them and we work with both of them.
Okay. You said something very interesting at the beginning. Did you say that a lot of people have moved from Solana to Aptos?
Yeah, I mean, I'm following the social as well, and that's where I'm seeing most of the friends I have or contacts that I have moving from Solana. Solana had, before the crash, before the FTX issues, Solana was around 6,000 developers, the community. 80 to 90% of them have moved, and most of them have moved to Aptos.
Could you explain, just for the sake of for the audience, but also a bit for me, because I know something about Aptos, and I know it was formerly the Facebook Libre, wasn't it? Could you explain a bit about what is Aptos and what makes it special? And is it an EVM chain as well?
Aptos is what we call the new FOMO, the new flavor of the month. it's a strong foundation, and they have a good technical team behind them. I think I don't know what caused everyone to jump from Solana and choose Aptos, because it's up to the personal preference of its developer. But I think their community is very strong and helpful, and I think there is a lot of things we can expect from them in the next year.
But as a blockchain, like one of the things I've done personally is looked at many different EVM compatible blockchains, and every time a new blockchain comes out and says we're super fast, I end up having massive problems when I mean, what I do is I get Metamask out, I write a program, and I start confirming transactions, and I'm like, hang on, this is not super fast. This is taking ages. So is Aptos any like? Has it got? Is it really faster? Because the last one that I saw that said they were faster and they weren't was Avalanche, and then there was Phantom before that, and they're fast when there's no load on the system, but as soon as you have a lot of transaction throughput, suddenly they slow down. So is Aptos different?
So, out in the market, they used to call Aptos the Solana killer because as much Solana, Aptos aims to outperform outperform all the other blockchains in terms of transaction speed. It's still early to see and hypothesize, assume what is going to happen. But yeah, it's one of their main goals and what gives them this unfair competitive advantage against the other blockchains.
Okay, maybe I have to try some Aptos stuff. I can use it with MetaMask, I assume, so I can just write some Solidity and just deploy it to Aptos quite easily. Okay, if we now get back to, I had a bit of some side questions here at the beginning, but if we get back to what Cyberscope does, I get a project, they come to me and they say, oh, and often they say, oh, we've got a system. They say it's not released yet, it'll be ready next month. And then I say, oh, but have you done this and 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 this? And I say, oh no, that's all sorted out. That will be sorted out later. What is a typical thing when a project comes to you? And it's going to be a follow-on question about, do you ever turn clients down and say you won't work with them?
Yeah. As a reputable audit firm, we have to protect our brand. So we don't work with just anyone. Usually we have to KYC the developers of the project before we can complete their audit. And as you say, many projects will come and they will say, oh yeah, we don't have a website yet. We don't have a white paper yet. We will do everything later. We will sort everything later. But, all this creates these shady vibes in the background, and we have to provide investor safety is our number one priority. So, and a fun fact is that when we finish the audit of a project, this happens a lot, by the way, because we are forced to objectively write the findings that we find. Some of them might not like how investors will feel by reading the audit, like, oh no, please remove these findings. Investors will be scared. This happens a lot, and I think it happens to competition as well. So it's hard to have these discussions, but every time we have to argue with clients and tell them that no, this has to be like that. We have an obligation towards community and investors. We will write these findings as we found them, and because this is the professional thing to do.
So who pays you to do the audits? Is it generally the investors who are considering? So is it a normal thing that if investors are considering investing in a project, they might hire you to do an audit first? Is it like kind of like when someone buys a house, they get a survey done of the house? Is it kind of like that?
Sometimes, I would say 90 to 95% of the times, the project owners, the core team comes to us because they're concerned about the security of the project. So those are the clients that buy the audit, because in the end, if they miss something, and when we're talking about writing code, it's very normal to miss a line, do a typo, something not being properly adjusted in the contract. These things happen, and that's why you need an audit. So those are the teams the people that pay for the audit. But sometimes, as you said, an investor might come and he might say, okay, I really like this project. I want to invest a number of money on that, but I'm worried and concerned about the security. Can you guys audit it? So a community member can pay us to do the audit for the project. And then they read it and they say, okay, those are the findings, those are the risks. Now I can take the informed decision and either invest or not invest.
But are audits normally public?
That depends. Some of the audits are preferred to be kept privately. That's to avoid contracts being public, or competition for whatever NDA, whatever reasons for the project. Most of them are public because they also like this brand that, okay, guys, hello, this is our audit, we're safe now, you can read our audits. And most of them don't just get one audit, they get multiple audits just to eliminate the chances of missing something.
Okay. Now I've got a question which I've actually it's actually duped me in the past. And I know that there's a lot of projects which have been audited and people are still losing their money. And the question is, what happens when a company, they get all of their audits, okay, and then they have their website up. And as we know, the website can be changed anytime. And everything, they tick all the boxes. And then, people put their money in. And then what they do is they do some sort of shenanigans. I don't know if you know that word, but it means some sort of, yeah, okay. So they do some shenanigans, some mischief, where change the smart contract address that the website points to. And of course, when you're using Metamask, normal people, even myself, I mean, I generally don't look at the smart contract address and go and read through the source code of the, or the Solidity API or whatever. I just don't do that. I think that's a common way that people try and scam. And secondly, how can you kind of reassure investors that because I know that well-intentioned people who have a project, I know that if you're a founder and suddenly you know that you can rug pull and you can get access to $5 million and disappear, it's very tempting, for a lot of people, they might have debts or whatever. Could you talk maybe a little bit about that?
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. You get tempted, and depending on the country you live on, it might be easy or hard to get away with it, because in some countries nothing happens even if crimes are committed with regarding cryptocurrency. So yeah, it's a very delicate matter, and it's one of the things that go through is very popular in terms of phishing and scamming. A lot of money have been exploited exactly by what you just described, changing the website and having a different contract in the MetaMask, so that they would steal either NFTs, or it could be personal assets, funds, anything like that. Now, what you can do is, and again, this is it's still on early steps of development. I actually had a discussion about that with one of the decision makers of Consensus, the founders of MetaMask, and so they are dealing with that, and they're having in their MetaMask there is a list of blacklisted domains. So if you have interacted with a blacklisted domain, they will try to throw an error or a warning in the MetaMask. Now, if the site is new and was not reported, so it's not blacklisted yet, you actually have to do some research on your own and check on the contract by yourself. There isn't much things to be done yet, because this is as dangerous as going into a shopping mall and instead of the guy, if you're purchasing something, they give you a fake ring. How would you know, right? So these things happen, but the only way to protect yourself is to educate yourself and be careful and check for KYC, check for audit, do all your due diligence, do your research, and this will work out in the end.
Okay, so you're saying that are you saying that that MetaMask is blacklisting and maybe whitelisting different smart contract addresses? Is that what you meant when you said domains?
No, so they're not blacklisting themselves. It's so you get to report if a domain is suspicious, and they will check, and they will they add it to the blacklist, right? So this doesn't happen in real time, but there is a database for that. So if you go to a phishing website and it's already reported by users, chances are MetaMask will throw you a warning saying, "Be careful, this is already reported. It might be a phishing attempt." So this is very good.
I see. Yes. So if someone sets up a website and it's scamming a lot of people, and new people go to that website, at least they might be warned in MetaMask. Yeah, I guess this is one of the big issues with crypto. Why why the user interface part is so important, because there's such a big issue with trust that even it doesn't matter how technical you are. I mean, even if you can read Solidity and smart contracts, like normal people don't have time, even if they knew that stuff, to go and read all these smart contracts. I mean, when someone says to me, "Oh, but people should learn it," I say, well, this is how difficult it is, because even the people who develop the smart contracts can't find the bugs. I say, so if the experts can't do it, how can a normal person do it? And I guess this is something I'd like to ask you is, how do you see that crypto is actually going to go mainstream? Because And which parts of crypto, like, is it going to be stablecoins, NFTs will go mainstream? Because this issue with, like, you probably heard last week, this Bitcoin core developer had 200 Bitcoins stolen. And I can attest, I was an expert and I had a lot stolen as well in the old days, you know. So it is hard. It just takes one mistake out of 50 steps, you know, just one thing and you lose it all. So where do you think the future is going to be for normal people who absolutely hate technology?
That's a good question, and it's hard to predict. But if I had to bet, I would bet on DeFi instead of CeFi, because I understand it's more risky to go on decentralization. And as you said, you go in a website, you have to connect with your MetaMask, and you don't know the website owners, and it's more risky. Or you go in a platform. But we've seen that DeFi can work. It's still a bit, it needs more time to be mature, more people to be involved, and more applications to be developed, and a lot more developers to grow, to go to that community as well. Because NFTs have a use case, and we've seen there are a lot of NFT hacks happening as well. And for the same reasons, the way to protect yourself against that, it's you can have cold storage and not connect all of your NFT wallets. I mean, why would you have all your NFTs in MetaMask? Okay, it's easy, it's simple. You don't want to waste time, but in the end of the day, you want to try and do everything that you can to secure your assets. You wouldn't go in a road trip with all your money in the back of your truck, would you? So it goes like that. There are steps that you can do. It might be a bit more time consuming, but you can secure your assets in a way. And yeah, I can see stablecoins working. I can see NFTs having a use case. I'm not gonna speculate about the trading, but more of real tokenization of physical assets, tokenization of digital assets as well.
Okay, that's very interesting. Would you say it's still like 5 or 10 years away that this stuff starts to become mainstream? I mean, is it like VR, where VR has been pushed forward since, like, I can remember VR headsets in the 80s, believe it or not. And every time they say it's another 5 years, is crypto going to be the same, or is it actually, or is it going to just merge into the background like the internet and be invisible? What do you think?
So I think we need to emphasize on the solution and not just the fancy UI things. So crypto solves a really big problem. It solves payments, right? So if you want it now to send money to your friend in Singapore, and let's say you are based in the US States, this would take 3 to 5 days, and the banks would have to intervene, and they would keep fees, and the banks are not working in the weekends. So all this takes some time and some money. But if you do it from crypto, you can just send the same amount in crypto to your friend in Singapore in just a few seconds. This solves a real problem. So I really believe this is happening in the next 5 years. I really think it's going to be implemented as a payment, and in every way that it's already being adopted. And we see even major companies, retainers, already implementing NFTs. We've seen Adidas, we've seen Nike, we've seen Instagram. They are all working on the metaverse. So this is happening. This is already being developed in the behind the scenes. And I think the next years we're going to be interacting with Web3 a lot more than we're aware of. We might not understand that right now we're interacting with a Web3 application, but this will be happening.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, but you're saying the cost is reduced, but for example, here in the EU, well, I'm not in the EU, but I'm in Gibraltar, but you're in the EU. You're in Greece, aren't you?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I'm in Greece right now.
So I know that they have this MiCA crypto law coming on. Isn't a lot of the like I could understand if crypto there's going to be a lot of cost savings because you're leaving out the CeFi, the traditional banks, but isn't the EU going to try and do it so that when, for example, someone sends a crypto payment, that it's going to get intercepted by this EU protocol? And there's a question in there somewhere, like, have you ever been approached by any government entities saying, we need you to start looking at stuff like this?
Yeah.
Or can you say it?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, we've been contacted by innovation departments from a couple of countries. They are discussing and they're exploring about Web3 and security is what they all have to check with security and regulations. And this is what we do. And one other case that we had to work with the FBI about a client that we had audited, so to trace the funds of the developer that decided to run away. So everybody has people or have a department growing there, and yeah, they are losing a lot of money. You know, banks, they will lose a lot of money when crypto comes in. So yeah, they're trying to adopt faster and silently. You know, they're trying to get a piece of the pie, but you know, if they don't do it in a delicate way, this will affect them.
Oh, so are you saying that banks and governments are starting to get tech savvy? Because that's been one of the big complaints, that they don't get crypto. Are you saying that they do get crypto and they're starting to understand the technology as well?
Exactly. So there are some countries that have already adopted crypto. They have invested in Bitcoin. Others are building their own cryptocurrency, because this solves inflation. This solves a lot of things. And you know, in some countries like Nigeria, they're not, where crypto is not allowed. They have to go through OTC deals, through decentralized apps, in order to trade their native currency into crypto. This is very hard for them, but it's a real problem, and someone is giving them the solution. It's always better to solve the problems on your local government and give your community the solution with your own, of course, customized to your own needs.
I know in Cardano and I think it's Stacks, which is a Bitcoin-based protocol. I know that some of these non-EVM languages, they say that they have special like features in place so that it's harder to write buggy smart contracts. Is that just marketing, or is there some truth to that?
So we've seen a lot of different networks, and we've seen a lot of programming language spinning off from Solidity and presenting new solutions that it's going to be, you know, less code, less bugs. I think everything can work. This is a general computer science question. Like, I mean, you can write backend in various programming languages. It doesn't mean that you have to go with Golang or C# or any other thing. So this doesn't necessarily mean that one thing is better than the other. It means that it has its advantages and disadvantages, and of course, it always depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to outperform in terms of speed, then you need something like Rust. You need to develop something that moves like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good analogy to backend, but of course, like in some backend languages, it's like if you have PHP, for example, you can make stuff faster, but you don't have the type safety of Java or something, or Haskell. As a company for Cyberscope, I guess so you've been doing a lot of these smart contract audits. How do you see your businesses changing in the next few years?
So I think the need for security is there. Of course, since the market is the market is not in the best conditions, we see that clients are more afraid to do the extra audit or make the extra step towards security. But the industry is growing, and we get a lot more new clients, a lot more incubated or accelerated projects from our partners. So we really believe in the concept of smart contract audit, because Web3 is coming, and Web3 needs smart contracts, and the smart contracts need to be audited. We've seen so many hacks and exploits, and most of them are because the smart contracts wasn't audited. And we, in terms of our company, we also focus on making our own product. So again, security and AML. AML is very important. You have to, when we're talking about money, you need to know the origin of the money. You don't want to accept money from suspicious sources, and scammers will use Tornado Cash or other mixer applications to hide the origin of the money.
Oh, so you advise companies on AML, on how to do the KYC and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying, I understand that you're saying that going forward, you think the market is so big that you can basically continue doing the same thing.
Yeah, we'll continue doing smart contract audits. We will continue doing KYC and AML analytics, and we also develop our own products about security and smart contract scanners.
Yeah, okay.
And the AML checker as well, because as you can imagine, when banks will start integrating, or big organizations will start integrating with crypto and start to receive payments, payments, you need to know the origin of the money. It's not
I
just.
see. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Also, in that way, you're kind of like one of these companies that helps with fiat on ramps.
Yeah, I mean, our first goal is always to educate and help people adopt, come on board, and we're also solving a real problem. So we try to combine those two.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I think that's all the questions from me. Is there any special stuff you would like to talk about your company, or any new stuff coming out?
Yes, sure. I would like to mention one really cool feature that we have integrated in CoinScope recently. So, the best way to get into crypto is to get to an airdrop, because airdrops are free. You don't have to spend any money. You can just earn tokens. So you can check out decentralized airdrops. You can check the project that you like, just vote for your favorite project, and you get whitelisted for the airdrop, and you can win free tokens. This is how I usually try to educate people about learning how to check a project, how to see what the contract can do, checking the audit report and the KYC. Always do your own research and try to not risk your investments, and never invest more than you can afford to.
Okay, so you use CoinScope as a kind of learning tool, so that you can explain to people how the whole thing works. Was CoinScope, did companies actually launch there? Did tokens use it as like a launch pad, kind of like an IDO, like Binance used to do?
So not exactly. We don't do the launch for the product, but we help with everything else, with the audits and the KYC from Cyberscope, and we also have some marketing. We do the airdrops. You can also mint your own token. We get a lot of new people coming, and they say, okay, I want to create my new project. What do I do? So we have these guidelines that you can follow, how to build the token from the UI, no code needed. And then we have, in terms of launching and the launch pad, we work with a lot of partners in every chain, so we help on that as well.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think that's all for today. But could you just for the audio listeners, could we could you say the spell out your website address and where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. So it's cyberscope.io and coinscope.co. Those are the two companies that I'm working on, and we're always happy to educate people. You can follow us on socials, come on our Telegram group, and ask any questions. We'll be happy to help you out.
Okay, and we'll share the links in the show notes as well. Okay, thanks so much for your time today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me. It was great talking to you, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you.